guys, welcome back to my channel. Mermaid Nina here. Tonight we are gonna talk about Epcot, but more specifically, we are gonna get into itinerary building, or what I like to call kind of a game plan for Epcot. So if you guys have seen my previous video, I did do this with Magic Kingdom. In fact, I got so much feedback that you guys wanted me to do this for all 4 parks. So here I am to tell you that I absolutely will be doing that for all 4 parks, and tonight will be Epcot. So for those of you who haven't seen my Magic Kingdom video, make sure you check it out. But essentially, I got a lot of you asking me for an itinerary, right? A step-by-step, minute-by-minute guide for you to follow when you're at the theme parks. However, it is my personal belief that park itineraries just don't work because there's just so many variables at play. Do you have kids? What are you interested in? How crowded is it? What Genie Plus passes were you able to get? Where are you staying? All those things, plus do you want to see characters? Did you want to see the nighttime show? All these things kind of come into play when it comes to building an itinerary, and they just aren't, you know, one size fit all, so to speak. So I thought I would just take you guys through the map, show you the rides, and then talk to you about what my family does when it comes to going to Epcot as a way to help you out. Obviously, you could follow this plan step by step, but my thought is that you would take what we do and apply it to yourself, to your family, because obviously, you know, you might have older kids, you might have younger kids, grandma and grandpa could be with you. So many things at play here could change, but you guys have asked, you loved the Magic Kingdom version, so yes, let's get into Epcot, shall we? Let's get started. So first thing, I need to kind of explain a little bit about Epcot, which makes it different from the other parks, but specifically different from Magic Kingdom. First, I'm gonna pop up a map here. Epcot is shaped like a figure 8. So that means there's a whole circle worth of things to do on both ends of the park. So to make it even more complicated, there's actually 2 different ways you can enter the park. So depending on which location you enter the park through, that will change your game plan. So I am gonna first talk about people who use the main entrance. These are off-property people. These are people who are busing to Epcot. Then I'm going to talk about how you should do this if you are entering through the World Showcase, if you are entering through the International Gateway. These are for people on the Skyliner. These are for people who are staying at Yacht Club, Beach Club, or even the Boardwalk. Since there are 2 different ways to enter Epcot, it really can change your kind of game plan. So make sure you stay tuned for that, especially if you are the next segment, right? The last part of this video, but you want to watch the whole thing because you never know what part you're going to kind of, get a light bulb and it's going to help you out. The other thing that you need to know that no matter where you start, whether you're at the front entrance or the International Gateway, as soon as Guardians of the Galaxy comes out, which is, next month, it's going to be late May, that's going to change everything. So I kind of built this to include Guardians of the Galaxy. So just note that no matter where you start, Guardians of the Galaxy and Remy will be your number 1 thing. That is going to be the number 1 thing you are going to try to score and you are going to try to pass. However, the times you try to find for these passes will change depending on what entrance you were using. Now, Genie Plus. This plan will include Genie Plus. It will also include people who are staying on property because that's what my family does. If you are staying off property, this might be a little bit different for you, but still follow along because, again, you'll be taking notes. But basically, Genie Plus, the top rides you are going to be looking for are Frozen Ever After and Test Track. Now, the game plan really is you need to figure out what your top rides are. What is most important for your family, for you guys to experience, and that is what you are going to be Genie Plusing at 7 a.m. Again, resort guests. So obviously, if I have to pay for the pass, I'm going to pay for Guardians of the Galaxy, I'm going to pay for Remy, And then I'm gonna Genie Plus Frozen Ever After. That is me, that is my family. If you have older kids, if you're not really interested in Frozen, you might swap Frozen out for Test Track. And obviously if Guardians of the Galaxy isn't even out yet, then you don't need to worry about it. Now, there are two ways that you can kind of do Epcot. One of them are people who want to hop later. There's a lot of people out there who think Epcot is not really a full day park, therefore I'm gonna hop somewhere else later in the afternoon. So for you, you're basically just ride pass, ride pass, ride pass. You're trying to get in and get out. You don't care about, exploring the World Showcase and looking at all the different countries. You're basically just trying to hit the key top rides that you want, and then you plan on leaving. The other option is to kind of take your time and know that Epcot is not all rides. There is a lot to Epcot that is really just walking around and exploring. It's also a really big park for eating. So many eating and drinking options at Epcot, which kind of makes it a more of a relaxed, slower park day. But kind of knowing in your head your game plan is going to help with this itinerary, right? So for those of you who are like, Nina, it's been 7 minutes, get into it already. Here we go. So for those of you who are using the main entrance, I'm talking monorail people, bus people, off-property people, this is how you are entering the park. So you'll be entering in through the front gates, where the first thing you are gonna see is the giant golf ball, right? The giant Epcot ball, essentially Spaceship Earth. So for you, you would want to figure out if Guardians of the Galaxy is open. We don't know yet if it's gonna be a boarding group or if it's gonna be individual lightning lane, or if it's something you can rope drop. Either way, for you main entrance people, you're gonna try to get Guardians of the Galaxy as soon as you can, first thing in the morning. Why? Because it's at the front entrance. It's literally one of the first things you are gonna see or can see is Guardians of the Galaxy. To avoid going back and forth, because Epcot is huge, your goal is gonna be trying to get Guardians of the Galaxy early. Whether you're gonna rope drop it, wait in line, whether you're gonna pay for individual lightning lane, or whether or not Disney brings back boarding groups, this is gonna be your game plan. So while you're waiting for Guardians of the Galaxy, this is your chance to ride Spaceship Earth. Now, I talked about it already. You're already gonna pass Frozen or Test Track, which means you're not gonna have a pass for Spaceship Earth. But you can rope drop Spaceship Earth, or usually there's not too big of a line when it's the first thing in the morning. So Spaceship Earth is the ride inside the giant golf ball. So you are gonna ride Spaceship Earth. You will have passed Frozen or Test Track for later on in the afternoon. Now, if you are passing Frozen, you wanna pass way later in the afternoon. Why? Because Frozen is really far back into the park. It is not super close to the main entrance. Test Track is a little closer, but not close enough that I would want like a 9 a.m. pass. I'm thinking for Test Track, I'd want a good 10:30 to 11:30 time frame. Again, so you are not running back and forth. Now, if you go to pass these rides and those times aren't showing up, you just want to keep refreshing the screen until you get a time that works for your game plan. Now, the same thing goes for Remy. I said you are going to want to pass Remy. You are also going to want to do that later in the afternoon because Remy is super far away from the main entrance. I'm thinking 2, 3 o'clock, aim for Remy and Frozen. Test Track would be a little bit earlier, but first thing in the morning, you're going to want to hit up Spaceship Earth or Guardians of the Galaxy. Hopefully you're with me. Now, depending on how long you're waiting for either Test Track or Guardians of the Galaxy, you're gonna wanna kick over to the right side of the park and you're gonna do Nemo, Turtle Talk with Crush if you have little kids, or if 2 hours have gone by since park opening, because again, I don't know how long these lines are gonna be. I don't know what time you showed up. But if 2 hours past park opening has indeed happened and you have yet to ride Frozen or Test Track, you can now pass another ride. So this is when you are gonna go ahead and pass Soarin', or if you were a Frozen person, you could pass Test Track. That's right, people. So if you woke up at 7 a.m. and you passed Frozen, 2 hours after park opening, which is, I don't know, depending on park opening, about 11 o'clock, you could pass another ride, which could be Test Track. If you're not interested in Test Track, if you have little kids, then you would pass Soarin'. So this is when it gets a little weird because I don't know what direction you'll be going in because you have options. If you choose the Soarin' area because you have little kids, go ahead and knock out all of those things that are in the land pavilion. You're gonna do Soarin', you're gonna do Living with the Land, you already did Nemo, and you're just basically following the path of the map. Again, I'm gonna be popping up maps all over the place here for you guys to kind of see what I'm talking about. If you ended up passing Test Track instead of Soarin', you could then ride Soarin', just wait, standby. You could do Living with the Land, wait, standby, while you're waiting for your Test Track pass to, happen, for the time to happen. Because again, I said Epcot is the shape of a figure 8. So basically all you're doing is going in and out of this circle shape. You're going backwards and forwards throughout this circle, depending on what ride you got and at what time you got. But you're basically just going back and forth between this circle. You have yet to enter the rest of the figure 8. So somewhere between your Test Track and your Soarin' and your Living with the Land and whatever you were able to do, it's probably lunchtime about this time. So for lunch, my family, we love eating at Sunshine Seasons Cafe, which is actually in the Land Pavilion. So if you are already in that area doing Soarin' or Living with the Land or even Nemo, that is a quick and easy spot to have lunch. But perhaps you're food and wine people, perhaps you're flower and garden people, perhaps you don't have kiddies with you and you kind of want to eat and walk and enjoy your time, which is totally fine. You would just skip Sunshine Seasons Cafe and eat throughout the World Showcase. Now, assuming you had lunch or you plan on having lunch in the World Showcase, this is at the time where you're gonna try to look and figure out what time your Remy pass was and what time your Frozen pass was. Assuming, again, as I said, later on in the day, you have to now determine how much time you have. If the Remy pass is sooner than the Frozen pass, then you're gonna wanna turn right and get to Remy pretty quickly. You're gonna, because you're right there dead center, ready for the rest of the figure 8. You're ready for the World Showcase to begin. You would turn right if you're getting Remy, if Remy is sooner, or you're gonna turn left if Frozen is sooner. And depending again on how much time you have, you can also kick over and do Figment, Journey into the Imagination with Figment, that's right. You can do that ride before you've really entered the World Showcase, because depending on what time all your passes are, you just might have that much time to kill. So essentially, again, this is where we're at a crossroads, because depending on what time your pass was, you would go left for Frozen, you would go right for Remy. On the way to Frozen, assuming your Frozen pass is before the Remy pass, you would then go ahead and explore the Mexican Pavilion and ride the 3 Caballeros, go hang out with Donald Duck, grab some nachos, whatever it is you want to do. If your Remy pass is first, then you're gonna head over to Canada, do some flower and garden, eat over there before you get over to France, to Paris, before you can ride Remy. Again, if Remy was first, when you're done riding Remy, you will just finish the rest of the figure 8 and kick over to Frozen, which is in Norway. If you started with Frozen, then you would do the opposite. You would then go the other direction around the World Showcase, around that rest of that figure 8, and then kick over to Remy. In between Norway, which is Frozen, and Remy, which is France, are several countries. So that's a lot of time for you to walk, explore, shop, eat, or drink. Again, if you are doing that ride, I'm trying to quickly go, you might skip a few of these rides and you might just hit the key rides you wanted to do and get out of there. If you're hanging out in Epcot all day, then this is your chance to really explore the World Showcase and get a feel of what all those countries really do have to offer. But because I'm really kind of just talking about the nooks and crannies here, the rides, I kind of skipped all that other stuff because most people are just ride. I want to get to the ride. What Nina, what ride should I pass? So at this point, it really just depends what time it is, Did you ride Frozen and Remy already? Are you still waiting for one of them, one of those passes to happen? At this point, it could be about dinner time. Maybe you scored a dining reservation in one of the countries. Maybe you're just fully exploring food and wine. But assuming you have finished Frozen and you have finished Remy, you can continue to explore the World Showcase, absolutely. Maybe you never got to Mexico, so kick over and hit up Mexico. But this is your chance to continually pass the other rides. So let's say that when you entered Epcot, you never got to do Living with the Land. You never got to do Nemo. This is your chance to now pass them on your way out. Does this make sense? Because you're doing the figure eight, you've already done the first little circle. Remy and Frozen is the larger circle in the back, but you still have to get back up to the bus stop. So on your way from the World Showcase to the front of, the front gates, you could essentially be pass ride, all those things that maybe you missed out on based on your time. So maybe you never got to do Spaceship Earth. Well, then quickly pass Spaceship Earth, a Genie Plus pass. Maybe you never got to do Nemo, pass that. Living with the Land, pass that. So you just keep passing as you have the opportunity, because once you've done Frozen and Test Track and possibly Soarin', all the other passes are just kind of whatever's left over, right? What is available. So if you see a pass for it and it's been 2 hours since your previous pass, or you've already passed, Soarin' and Test Track and you've already ridden that, you can go ahead and pass the other things. Maybe there was a ride that you did stand by. For instance, I said Spaceship Earth, just go ride it. As soon as you enter the park, rope drop it. You can then Genie Plus it on your way out of the park as a way to ride it twice. So it's at this part of the day where it's really hard to guide you, because it's really based on what did you already do? What do you want to do again? What time is it? How many Genie Plus passes are available? All those good things. But just note that you can keep Genie Plus passing into the evening as long as there's still passes to get. So once you've secured the two major, Frozen Test Track, assuming you did Remy, hopefully Guardians of the Galaxy was out for you, you did that, you can just pass whatever is left over on your way out, on your way back to the front entrance to collect your bus or your monorail or drive home. Hopefully this makes sense. Now, this is when I get to mix things up a bit, because for those of you who are using the International Gateway, for those of you who are coming in through the Skyliner, Yacht Club, Beach Club, or the Boardwalk, you are entering in the World Showcase. So you are nowhere near that front circle, right? That beginning part of the figure eight. So the game plan for you is different. So for those of you who are staying at those particular hotels, this segment is for you. Now, for those of you who used the main entrance, you might want to keep watching, because I will tell you guys where the best spots are to watch Harmonious in this segment here. So anyway, okay, World Showcase people. For people who came in through the International Gateway, this is what you are going to want to do. You are 100% going to want to rope drop Remy to save money. Or if you don't care about that, go ahead and pay for a pass. First thing, you want to do Remy first thing in the morning, 9 a.m., 10 a.m., whatever that time frame is, get it first, because you are essentially entering the location of Remy. I mean, it's right there. So it makes perfect sense to just quickly get Remy out of the way so you can move on to the rest of the park. Now, assuming Guardians of the Galaxy is open, you are going to want to go ahead and either board and group that or, individual lightning lane that. Get that for later in the day, midday to later in the day, because based on your plans, the other people did Guardians of the Galaxy first thing in the morning, you're going to want to do it later in the afternoon. So assuming you got Remy, either you rope dropped it or you passed it, good for you. But you also want a Genie Plus, Frozen, or Test Track. Again, it's very similar to the main entrance people, except if you do Frozen, you can do Frozen pretty early in the morning, because again, you're entering through the World Showcase. If you are a Test Track person, then you could Test Track pretty much any time really. You could do it, 10:30, 11:30, just like the other people, or you could do it later in the afternoon. It's really up to you. But you do have to decide between Test Track and Frozen. So, assuming you rope drop Remy, then you just walked right onto Remy, didn't have to worry about it. If you got Frozen pretty quickly after that, then you would just kick over to Frozen, hang out, do Frozen, and then do the first part of the figure eight later. However, for those of you who are individual Lightning Lane Remy, and you didn't get a super duper early time, what do you do in the meantime, right? Because you entered at Remy. You don't want to do a bunch of back and forth. Sadly, because Remy didn't start very early for you, you are going to have to do a little back and forth. So to kind of fill the void, you are going to kick over to that front part of Epcot, right? That beginning part of the figure eight. And you're going to do things like Figment, go into the land pavilion and do Soarin', Living with the Land, Finding Nemo, whatever you can that's kind of in that general area. Those three kind of buildings are kind of right there in that area. If you decided to Test Track instead of Frozen, then you could also go ride Test Track while waiting for your Remy. So again, it's all kind of based on what time you got Remy. If you got Remy first thing in the morning, then Remy and then Frozen. If you got Remy a little bit later, maybe you got a 10:30 Remy and you showed up at 9, you need something to do to kill that time. That's when you would kick over to the Figment, Soarin', Living with the Land, all those good kind of things. Then you would kick back, ride your Remy, and at that point in time, you would then be hopefully walking to Norway to ride your Frozen Pass. Now it's at this point, once you've ridden your Frozen Pass, if you didn't do Test Track, you get to pass again. So once you've clicked into Frozen, you can then pass Test Track. The same thing goes if you did Test Track earlier in the day. As soon as you clicked into Test Track, you can then pass Frozen. Do you kind of get this? It's because they're far away from each other, you end up kind of going in circles a little bit. So you kind of want to mentally prepare for what could happen based on what time you get Remy for. Again, I know this is kind of confusing, which is why I'm trying to help out by doing this video. So if you ended up doing Frozen, you would ride Remy, go ride your Frozen, and then you're right there to be next to Mexico. So then go ahead and do the 3 Caballeros, hang out with Donald Duck, perhaps grab some nachos, which are Nina's favorite, at the quick service right there across from the Mexican pavilion. At this point in time, it could be kind of close to lunch. Again, grab some nachos. Maybe you packed some sandwiches for the kiddies because you weren't sure where you were gonna be at what time. I know we do that for our kids. I purposely will pack sandwiches for my kids on our Epcot day because I'm not sure if we've made it far enough to Mexico to get them nachos, or if we've made it close enough to Sunshine Seasons Cafe to get them lunch. So at this point, I'm like, you know what? I'm packing them a little sandwich as a just in case. So at this point, it could be about lunchtime. Go ahead and give your kids the sandwiches, get nachos, explore Food and Wine, Flower and Garden, whatever time of year it is. And then you kind of keep going. Again, if you did Frozen first, you will have then passed Test Track once you were on Frozen. So the next thing, if you follow the map, is kind of Test Track, right? So you end Mexico, you're gonna kick up and do this weird little windy twist thing, and you're in the Test Track area. So then go ahead and ride your Test Track. Again, either 2 hours after your Frozen Pass, or as soon as you clicked into Frozen, you can then score Test Track. As soon as you're done with Test Track, you can then score whatever you missed earlier in the day. So again, it kind of just depends on what you've done, what you've been waiting to do, what time lunch is, did you already eat, all those good things. But assumingly you've already ridden Remy, right? You've already ridden Test Track or Frozen. So once you finish clicking into all of those things and it's time to pass again, this is when you would pass Soarin', pass Spaceship Earth, pass Nemo, pass Living with the Land. Whatever you didn't do earlier, depending on your Remy time, you can then do now. Because Test Track is in that front part of the figure eight. So you would then at this point just kind of pass ride, whatever you can, whatever's in the area, whatever is available. And then at this time, hopefully, It's time for your Guardians of the Galaxy, right? Hopefully you score at a boarding group or an individual lightning lane for later in the day. And now, since you're in that area, you can go ahead and do Guardians of the Galaxy, Spaceship Earth, all those good things. That would put you now at the main entrance, exactly where the other people started their journey. This is kind of where you're ending your journey, right? So you started at the back and you're moving forward. They started in the front, moving towards the back. So just like them, once you've hit Remy and Frozen and Test Track and Guardians of the Galaxy, you would then just be passing whatever's left. Past Spaceship Earth, wait in line for Spaceship Earth, past Soarin', Living with the Land, whatever it is that you didn't get to do. And you're kind of working your way back to the Skyliner or those resorts near the International Gateway to go home. So you're kind of going forward and then you do a little circle and you, again, figure eight. Just think figure eight. That's all you need to keep thinking. So it's at this point, maybe dinner time. Hopefully you either got a dining reservation, perhaps you're gonna try Space 220, or again, you will be in the Sunshine Seasons Cafe area. Perhaps you can have dinner there or continue to explore the World Showcase and eat, food and wine, flower and garden, whatever it is you have planned. Now, as I said, you are now in the front of the park and you will be slowly working your way back towards where you would exit at the International Gateway. So you will pass and eat as you see fit. Some of you are wanting to go home because it's getting later at this point. Again, I said dinner time. Some of you are going to want to hang out and watch Harmonious. So for those of you who want to kick back and watch Harmonious, this is where I suggest you watch because you are at the front of the park already. You can just walk straight up from the golf ball into where the World Showcase kind of splits. One side is Canada, one side is Mexico. If you just walk straight up, you're kind of in the center of the gateway area, and that is an amazing spot to watch Harmonious. If for some reason you ended up in the World Showcase because maybe you're, the main entrance people, and for some reason you're still in the World Showcase, the best spot for you to watch Harmonious will be near America. So on either side of the American Pavilion is an excellent spot to watch Harmonious if that's what you are indeed wanting to do with your Epcot day. So hopefully, Epcot is just kind of crazy. It's because it's huge. It's huge. It's the size of a figure eight, and there's not that many rides actually that you can Genie Plus. So you do have to kind of pick your battles, so to speak, pick your top interested things, make sure you pass those, make sure you Genie Plus them, make sure you individual lightning lane them, whatever it is you're doing, and then everything else is kind of just icing on the cake. So if you saw our family Epcot video, which was the video I put out before this one, make sure you watch it because it will show you in real time what a family can actually do at Epcot, especially since we had a few inconveniences that happened to us on that trip. We still managed to ride everything we wanted to ride. But it was in our mindset that if we don't ride Figment, is it the end of the day? If we don't ride Nemo, is it the end of the day? Because we came in knowing Remy was our top ride, Frozen was our top ride, Spaceship Earth was our top ride. So once we kind of hit those rides, everything else was kind of just icing on the cake. So for those of you who are like, okay, Nina, I get where you're going with this. What rides could I sort of skip if needed? So without making anyone angry, which I know I will do, me personally, if I had rides that I couldn't pass or I needed to skip, they would be Figment. I know, sorry, I really don't like that ride. My kids love that ride. It drives me bonkers. I could totally skip Figment and be happy. I also could skip Living with the Land. And sometimes I could skip Nemo. It's just Nemo's cute, but it's super duper short. So I would rather spend my time on Soarin', Spaceship Earth, Remy, Frozen, Three Caballeros. Love that ride. So that's me personally. you want to kind of research the ride, look at the map, and figure out what your family could skip. Obviously, if you have littles, you're going to want to do Nemo. You're going to want to do Turtle Talk with Crush. You might want to do Figment, but what you might be skipping is Test Track. So it just really depends. And of course, I didn't mention Mission Space at all because I will not go on Mission Space. Mission Space is a simulated astronaut-like going into space ride. They do have 2 levels, green and orange. One level is more intense than the other. However, both levels have been known to make some people a little queasy, a little motion sickness, so my family just skips it altogether. But just note that if you do want Mission Space, then that is something you're gonna work into your game plan as well. But again, I started out saying this was our game plan. So again, guys, hopefully you took notes and hopefully this makes sense. Again, I'm hoping the maps kind of helped. Epcot is kind of a hot mess because of the way it's shaped. Nothing is like, there's no like a bunch of rides in the row. Everything's kind of just awkwardly placed throughout the park to get you to see and do the whole park. But it is kind of hard to do bam, 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 ride without walking a great distance. So just kind of know that going into Epcot. And again, Guardians of the Galaxy is coming out late May. We have yet to know what is going to happen with that. Boarding group, individual lightning lane. We don't even know if there's going to be a standby lane for Guardians of the Galaxy when it first comes out. But just note, either individual lightning lane or boarding group is something you're going to do first thing in the morning. So either way, first thing in the morning, 7 a.m., you are going to be Remy, Guardians of the Galaxy, Frozen, or Test Track. It's just kind of an automatic thing that you will be doing. Again, if you're staying off property, you don't get individual lightning lanes until park opening. So for you, Remy and possibly Guardians of the Galaxy will be harder for you, which is why I always suggest people stay on property because being able to score those rides is kind of key. And again, I'm going to keep mentioning it. Genie Plus, worth it, not worth it? This is my take. First of all, it's the only way you can skip the line. So if you are interested in skipping a 2-hour line, an hour and 45-minute line, a 95-minute line, a 65-minute line, this is the only way to do this. So I kind of think of Genie Plus as not did I skip 1 ride or 2 rides, or I have to skip at least 5 rides to make it worth it to me. I think how much time did I save? So on that Epcot video where, that I told you guys to watch, we passed Frozen, which by the time we got to ride it was a 95-minute wait. So that means we saved 95 minutes is essentially how I think about it. And we passed Remy. Remy was at like 145 minutes or something at that point when we got to ride it. Again, we saved 145 minutes and 95 minutes just by passing those 2 rides. So you have to think, is it worth it to you to save that time? To not have to wait in line for that amount of time? That's how I think of it. It's not how many rides did I score, it's how much time did I save by not having to wait in that line. Because I know 145 minutes, that's over 2 hours. No way. No way are my kids waiting in that long line without some meltdowns, without some crankiness. I would much rather spend $60, 15 times 4 people, and just get her done, which means I get to maximize the rest of my day doing other rides. So anyway, that's kind of how I think about Genie Plus at this point. It's not how many rides I scored, it's how much time did I save by not having to wait in the line. Anyway, guys, as always, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it made sense for you. Epcot, like I said, is kind of a hot mess. But I will be doing Hollywood Studios and Animal Kingdom, throughout the next few weeks. And of course, check out the Magic Kingdom video. But yeah, guys, as always, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found it useful. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. If the subscribe button is red, please click it, turn it gray, hit the bell icon for notifications, like this video. And like I said, I already know you guys want me to do all 4 parks. That is 100% happening. But is there anything else I need to include in these videos to make it easier to understand? because I think watching not only this game plan itinerary video, but also us actually doing the itinerary at the actual park, by watching both together, I'm hoping all those light bulbs kind of click off and it helps you out the most. It's kind of like the best way to maximize this for you is to not only hear me tell you what to do, but to actually see what we can accomplish in a day might just help you out the best way. So again, guys, as always, mahalo for watching. Nina out. Bye.